How would it affect you if one of the most popular and prevalent foods could also kill you, when something you ate could end your life? Hey guys, welcome back. This is Grown and Healthy, the channel where we explore self-improvement through movement. And in today's video, I'm going to explain how I cured my nut allergy. Now, a disclaimer, this is just my personal experience and not an endorsement or explanation of a method to cure nut allergies. Eating foods that cause an allergic reaction should not be attempted without medical supervision and authorization from your doctor. If you aren't familiar with peanut allergies and the severity of a reaction, let me explain. From as long as I can remember, even the smell of peanuts would cause me irritation. My skin would become irritated and tight, and my throat would get itchy. My nose would burn and breathing would become difficult. Sometimes this would happen from just opening a bag of peanuts nearby. Now, to eat even the tiniest piece would send my body into an anaphylactic shock. A severe allergic response to peanuts induces a state of anaphylaxis, a potentially life-threatening full-body reaction. This affects these four systems in your body with these corresponding symptoms. Anaphylaxis is very serious. The most dangerous symptoms are throat swelling, which can lead to suffocation and low blood pressure, which could cause a person to enter into anaphylactic shock and die, causing me to be tense, raising my heart rate, and causing further inflammation. I could feel my throat swelling to a close, swelling shut, reducing my ability to breathe, and it is life-threatening. So dangerous that people who are on planes that are serving nuts could suffer an allergic reaction without even consuming the peanuts. When you talk about walking on eggshells, this is it. You know, at any moment, if you receive the wrong food, it could become a life-threatening situation. When you travel to a foreign place or even a foreign restaurant, they would often omit the nuts used in the dish. Mole sauce, for example. And many protein bars have cashews, peanuts, and hazelnuts as their source of protein. Now, some companies disclose it better than others, but adventurous food choices have led to many sketchy experiences for me when I'm trying out new foods. Now, I'm good at scanning my ingredients, but I got caught up a few times. My latest snafu inadvertently set me on my journey to curing my nut allergy for good. It all started with these kale chips. Now, they come in two varieties, and one is salt and one is garlic. Now, I quickly scanned just briefly over the ingredient list because I was feeling very hungry, and I didn't notice that cashews were in the ingredient list. And you happen to overlook that when you're hangry shopping. So while driving home, since I was very hungry after my workout, mid-drive, I decided to grab the bag and I took a nice chunk of the kale chips to eat. As I began to chew, I could feel a tingle on my tongue and I knew it was the onset of an allergic reaction. You know, I thought this was it because I ate a good chunk of it and I thought, oh, I definitely killed myself today. I started to panic and I figured I was too far away from home to get my Benadryl or my EpiPen. So I decided to just practice a common calming breathing technique, a box breathing technique of 4 seconds in, hold, 4 seconds out, hold, and repeat. The reaction kind of subsided, and I knew I was onto something. At the time, I was just happy to make it home without dying. And when I read the ingredients at home, I saw the glaring cashews. But when I looked at the chip itself, the cashews were diced in such small pieces. They were the perfect microdose size in order to trigger a reaction, but not to actually cause me any harm. How small the pieces are. So what if I ate smaller amounts daily, like a training program, incorporating progressive overload? Peanut immunotherapy exposes children to very small but increasing doses of a peanut product, sometimes starting with less than 1/1000th of a peanut. Clinical trials of oral immunotherapy and food allergies have shown some promising results. Many studies show after eating slowly increasing quantities of the food for 6 to 12 months, around 70 to 80% of patients could handle higher doses than before. a lot has changed from the previous incidents when I've eaten peanuts or nuts at all. And I credit that to my current lifestyle, the ability to actually make it through this attempt to cure my allergies. My diet consists mostly of whole foods, little to no ultra-processed foods. I stay away from refined rice, flour, and sugar, and I avoid added sugar in my foods. This keeps my diet at a low inflammatory state. You have to understand, when you're eating foods with high sodium, high added sugar, and added emulsifiers, common in most ultra-processed foods, they will raise an inflammatory response in your body. If your diet only consists of inflammatory foods, the chronic use becomes too much of a load to handle. And that's when you end up with chronic diseases like hypertension and diabetes, amongst others. Now, with a low inflammatory baseline, it gave me more wiggle room to withstand the inflammatory response to actually eating nuts. If my diet was high inflammatory to begin with, I would already be at the edge of my threshold, and it would only take a little exposure to send me into shock. The second factor was my breathing technique. You want to breathe as slow as possible, which is difficult because your mind is racing with thoughts of surviving. There are many calming methods of breathing, but the method I was using was a box method with really slow cycles. So even though it was a 4 count, it was a really long 4 count, like 1, 2, 3, and I would hold the inhalation, then exhale and hold the exhalation. And this got me into a great meditative state. Now, in practice, I would eat a small piece on a daily basis. And with each day, I would progress that size. A pinch became a larger pinch and then a good sized bite. Now, while my method of load progression wasn't as measured as it should be, it worked. I started with an amount less than what I had eaten on that drive home. And I took a bite, and let me tell you something, it was the weirdest feeling ever. It's so surreal to actually eat something that you've registered in your mind as sure death. It's very hard because your body, your eyesight, your olfactory system signal the usual threat. And now they're going to see you actually putting it in your mouth on purpose. So your body kind of freaks out for a bit. And so even when you bite it, you'll feel an anxious intensity. Your mind practiced this fire drill for the majority of your life, and so it's not going to fail now. And so every time that you would take a bite, even now, it still kind of gives me a warning, but that immediately subsides, and then everything is back to normal. I know one thing I learned from this is that you can overcome a lot when you put your mind to it. The universe is mental, and as long as I progressively increased the amount without overdoing it, I found my tolerance was increasing. My body and its response adapted to the stress, analogous to exercise training, staying consistent with manageable increases in exposure, not just diving into a bowl of peanuts on day 1, but working your way up to it systematically. The overall process from the first bite to me confidently able to eat peanuts, or any nut for that matter, was about 45 days of constantly eating a larger piece every day. Now, we're not talking about doubling the size, just a little bit more. So some days that would go from, at least from the beginning, that would go from a small granule to then a larger bite to a whole peanut by the end of the 45 days. So we're talking about a prolonged time in order to actually get the body to acclimate towards the stimulus. So you're trying to actually raise the response and then subdue it with the meditation and breathing practice and let your body recover. And then you do it again the next day with a slightly larger amount. Trigger that response again, because what you'll find is that if you eat the same amount, the same small amount, body gets used to it, and you're trying to increase that threshold, and that's why I increased it. Maybe you could do it without, maybe someone could do it without even increasing it, maybe just eating a same small amount on a consistent basis would help them also. Now that I'm able to eat it, I no longer have to spend exorbitant money for an EpiPen or buy Benadryl. And even though a high amount may be unpleasant to my digestion mainly, it's not life-threatening. And that is the key point. If I had to go through all of this just to not die from eating the wrong thing, I would say it was well worth it. Now, do I like the taste of peanuts now? No, I don't think I ever will, but it doesn't ruin a dish either. I can eat it as to avoid death, and it's not something that I'm seeking to eat. I still don't know where all the hype is about peanut butter. I think a lot of it is overblown. Now, I've tried most of the foods I avoided as a child, and it is empowering and frightening at the same time. This is the power of marketing. As a child, I always wanted to eat Reese's Pieces because E.T. loved them, the power of movies. So even to eat something like this is spectacular. Now, I don't normally eat junk food, not at this age, but I will try one of these because it's been a lifelong barrier, or this is something I always wanted to eat as a child, but could never try because I knew this would be instant death. Good thing I have the EpiPen nearby. I might need it. Nah, I'm okay. I'm okay. I kid. That's not funny. This is actually not bad. So maybe this is the one peanut butter food that actually tastes good. This is such a weird feeling. To be able to eat it whole without any concern is amazing. Now, again, I told you every time that I eat something like this, my mind still overrides it. It still gives me the tingle in my mouth and I go, ooh, ooh, ooh. Be careful. But this was sure death before this. I'd probably give this 7 out of 10 in terms of taste, but I don't know, so sweet. One thing I will say is that even though I no longer am worried about dying from eating peanuts, the gas or the digestion issues that I feel when I eat a lot of peanuts makes me not really a fan of eating peanuts at all. I am just glad that I'm able to eat and survive. I don't have to go into shock. I don't have to stab myself with the EpiPen. Just imagining the response of eating these amounts of nuts without keeling over, foaming at the mouth, is a blessing itself. This form of graduated exposure seems to be clinically practiced, and your doctor may be able to help you. So consult your doctor first and see what your possibilities are. All right, guys, this has been Grown and Healthy, the channel where we explore self-improvement through movement. Thanks for watching.